Welcome to the Daily Filibuster for Tuesday, June 15th. I'm Krishna Javeri. Today I'm here to talk to you about the state of New Jersey and the current budget debate in which Governor Chris Christie is taking on the Democratic legislature in what is turning out to be a dramatic battle for the state's fiscal future. June 30th is the deadline for the New Jersey legislature to approve a budget for fiscal year 2011. Per constitutional mandate, this budget must be balanced. Governor Christie's budget that was announced on March 16th attempts to do this by cutting spending rather than raising taxes, a disagreement with the Democratic legislature.
They believe in bigger government, higher taxes, and more spending. Here it is. Bigger government, higher taxes, more spending. I believe in less government, lower taxes.
So Christie has called for deep cuts across the board, including in state aid to municipalities and schools. New Jersey's economic situation is bleak, but it is the result of 8 years of failed leadership by a Democratic legislature and a series of failed Democratic governors, the most recent of which was Jon Corzine, who Christie defeated in November of 2009. Comfortable with the status quo, Democrats in the legislature began their political posturing immediately after the governor delivered his budget address in March. The Democratic leadership accused Christie of having no compassion and misplaced priorities for refusing to raise taxes. It is simply unbelievable that the Democrats could engage in such hypocrisy after failing for 8 years. We have done it their way, and it simply does not work. When confronted with the question, "What would you do?" the governor knew what the Democratic response would be.
Now, some will say that we should tax our citizens more to keep up with spending growth. They've said it before. They've done it before.
Are 16,000 millionaires, so to speak, or 16,000 households that are affected by the surcharge that we will provide today.
We think that that is the kind of thing people in New Jersey would embrace.
The fact that keeping it would do little or nothing to close an $11 billion budget gap has no effect on a party that has a nearly pathological tendency to raise taxes. They claim to be fighting for small business, but half of the filers who would be affected by the millionaire's tax are small businesses themselves. I want to briefly go over the details of the budget to give you a sense of how serious this problem is. Last year, the budget was $34.8 billion, including $1.3 billion from the failed American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Governor Corzine accepted these stimulus funds for obvious partisan reasons, but did not provide any instruction for what to do once that money was gone the following year, kicking the can down the road. But his acceptance of these funds is symptomatic of the disease that plagues the Democratic Party in New Jersey. For the past 8 years, the only way of doing business in Trenton was to tax, spend, and borrow. The Democrats' addiction to spending has led to a 59% increase in the state budget from the year 2001 to 2008. The Democratic leaders in the legislature would rather do nothing than upset their masters at the NJEA, CWA, and other public sector employee unions who write their contribution checks.
You know, you guys are standing up and speaking up for the things that matter in people's lives. You know, a living wage is a perfectly reasonable thing to fight for, right?
If nothing were done to the budget, the state would need to raise $11 billion to match last year's budget. Such money could only result from a doubling of income tax collection or in hiking the sales tax threefold. The answer is simple. Governor Christie's budget is a common sense way to get the state back on track. Calls for a fiscal year 2011 budget of $28.3 billion that checks outrageous pension benefits, cuts waste and abuse, and imposes common sense reforms that are proven to save money. These are difficult times, and they have forced the governor to make tough choices. But he was elected to clean up a mess and not please public sector union bosses. The budget battle is only the beginning in a series of confrontations this governor will have with the Democratic legislature and their union masters. But if this is any indication, he has shown that he is willing to do what it takes to get New Jersey back on track without regard for his poll number. He may have even found a friend in the nameless and faceless New Jersey taxpayer who is sick and tired and just won't take it anymore.